Good morning, everybody. It's Tom Christie back in the carving shop, and this will be session 3 of carving a Drake Blue-Winged Teal in a preening position. In the previous videos, we got the heads shaped up, the eyes installed. In this video, we'll work on roughing out the body and getting the general shapes of the body set. And then in the following session, we'll work on detailing the body, assembling the decoy. So welcome back. If you're enjoying my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I know I've said that before, but it does help me out. It doesn't cost anything, and I would really appreciate it. So let's get busy on rough carving the body of the Blue-Winged Teal Drake. I do a lot of my carving with this 3/4 inch kind of bull-nosed, 3/4 inch diameter saber-tooth burr, and this is a fine bit, which is the yellow color. I prefer those normally over the green bit. The green will take wood off a lot faster, but I feel like I have a little more control with this finer tooth. So I'm just starting to round the body of the decoy, and I'm going to speed the video up here so we can get through this more quickly. But I just wanted to show you actual speed to begin with, especially for you newer carvers. You just need to take your time with these rotary tools. They can be dangerous, so you keep your hands away from them and take your time. So I'm creating some separation between the breast and the side pocket there, because in this preening position, that breast tends to be more defined. And we'll look at that a little bit more later, but it's worth mentioning. So let me speed the video up, and then I'll keep talking us through my approach to rough carving this decoy body. Okay, we're at 2 times speed now, just rounding the breast area. I'm going to show almost this entire roughing process in this video, and you may choose to skip through some of that. But if you haven't carved a decoy before, I think it's helpful to see the approach that I use anyway, and the complete process, and not just little snippets that really don't show you how the decoy gets shaped up. So I'm defining that neck again as it goes into the breast, and I'm not trying to put a lot of shape into that at this point. We'll do that in the detailing part. Right now I'm just trying to round the body and remove wood that I don't want to have to deal with. That is bumped out in that area because the wing is going to be tucked into that side pocket, and we're going to show some of the exposed wing in that area. So in the pattern I bumped that out so that we could, or I could carve some feather groups in that area and convey that that area is bumped out slightly because the wing is partially exposed and out of the side pocket somewhat. All right, now I need to remove wood back here around the primaries, and in this particular decoy I've got the primaries crossed in back. So I need to remove wood but not take out the wood that I'm going to need to define those primaries. You can see it penciled in there. You really need to be careful in these areas where you're going against the wood grain with a burr like this. So I know I'm repeating myself, but take your time. Don't try to push too hard and make that burr snag and jump, especially going against the grain. And on the tail like this, you're near the end grain and going both directions. So now I'm just removing wood from that other area. You can see how I pulled off of that, and I need to be careful. Because depending on the rotation of the tool, it will tend to roll over edges, and you need to be careful about that. So I've switched the decoy around, and I'm headed towards that pencil line that we put for the location of the tail feathers. And I've got this tail cocked a little from the back in a preening position. Waterfowl will often cock their tails to one side a bit to help in the preening process. So I don't have a lot, but I've got a little bit of a tail slant. Just taking off additional wood, rounding. And then I'm going to switch carving bits here to work on the primary area where they're crossed in back, so we'll do that next. Now I'm going to switch to the Marathon Guesswine grinder, a little more precision, a little lighter duty, and I realize I'm off screen here, but I'm starting to shape up that V-notch between the primaries in back, and I'll show you that in just a second here. I'm using about a 1/4 inch diameter burr that has teeth on the end of it as well. And so you can see I've carved out that V-notch between the primaries. Now I'm working on each side carefully to remove material. So I'll speed this up as well. I just wanted to show you actual speed before we go into fast mode. Okay, this is 2 times speed. Again, take your time with these burrs. And I'm just working back and forth to remove that wood in that area. I don't want to dig too much wood out here because we also have to carve some tertials in, and they get pretty close to the primary feathers back there. So I'm just getting wood out of the way that I'm not going to need and beginning to form those cross primaries. Tough to see here, but that's a better view. I'm just trying to leave enough wood there for the tail coverts, which are the feathers that kind of cover up the base of the tail feathers. And now I'm taking that second primary group down to a lower level because I want to, when the primaries cross, obviously one group is lower than the other. So I've got those roughly defined, and now I'm just going to go back to my bullet nose 3/4 inch saber-tooth burr and begin rounding. And I pointed there because that is the point on the pattern where that side pocket feather group ends, so I don't want to lose that in my carving. Now I've switched to the 3/4 inch cylindrical shaped saber-tooth burr, again fine tooth, and you can use a cylinder like this to cut hard edges. So I'm dropping that side of the burr down to leave the one primary group elevated on one side, and then the other primary group tucks under that one. So I need to take that side I'm working on down lower so it matches up with that the tips of that second primary group you can see there. So I've taken that down where they're kind of at a level that makes sense. Now I want to work on the underside of the tail. I'm going against the grain here, so repeat, repeat, repeat. I'm just going very gently here so I don't push that burr too hard into the end grain. And I'm using the edge of that 3/4 inch burr to really define where the lower edge of the tail feathers meets the body. You can't see it here, but I'm just doing the same thing to the opposite side and gradually working those tail feathers undercuts there. And I'm working that down to match up with the lines that we drew. I want to leave about a 1/4 inch of thickness on the tail. There's that line. So I've got quite a bit yet to go to remove wood in that area. I'll skip ahead a little bit here. Now you can see I've taken that off. Now I want to just round that rump area. And I'm going to use the same bit to go in and round that area on both sides. This is all just roughing again at this point, so just removing major portions of wood, and then we can refine all of this later. So we're kind of sculpting the body of the bird at this point. That gives you a good look at it. Clean up the edges from the bandsaw marks a little bit. And the tail is starting to take shape. You can see there's still a lot of work yet to do. I'm just working that burr with the hard edge to kind of define the upper edge of those tail feathers a little more than I had with the round burr. Just showing that slanted tail, a little bit of an angle in that tail in the preening position. So I'm going to go ahead and round the rest of this, and that can get pretty boring to watch, so I'll probably cut this short. We just have to avoid taking off too much wood before we can get some of the details penciled in, and we'll do that next. Okay, I'm a little further along. I'm switching to this flame-shaped ruby bit because I need to get in behind this neck, and just can't do that with those larger burrs. So I'm going to use that ruby to kind of define that a little better and make sure it's rounded and we don't have any hard edges back there. All right, I just want to stop at this point, take a look, give you a look at how much carving has been done at this point. I haven't done a lot of carving in that wing area because that gets into the details. All right, we've got the body kind of rough rounded just to knock some wood off of it, get the tail kind of shaped up, the primaries positioned. Now I want to use the calipers, or I have used the calipers in my pattern to get some key guidelines as we begin carving. So just some quick reminders on that. I got a distance from the front of the bird to the back of the cape here and transferred that to the carving, and then used that dimension to locate these points along with center line out dimension, so those are fixed. And then this is we're going to make this a group of feathers that the wing is kind of tucking behind, and we're going to have some of the exposed wing feathers in this area, so we're going to want to carve that down and leave some of these side pocket feathers bulged out so the wing is pushed behind them. On this side we're going to have kind of a traditional side pocket, so I transferred dimensions here. Blue-winged teal side pocket comes pretty high on the bird from my observation and reference materials, and then drops down a little bit here. So now that we have some rough layout work, I've also extended this wingtip, down, and this will be the wing elevation, and I got that off of my pattern from the bottom of the Decoy. So that gives me a guideline. So I'm going to use the 1/4 inch cylindrical burr and start rough shaping some of these and sculpting the body. Here's that 1/4 inch diameter cylindrical burr. It's kind of my go-to burr for this type of work. I'm going to start by digging in this area because we need to create some dimension to this group of side pocket feathers. By dimension, I mean they need to look like they're cupped out and rounded. And in order to do that, we're going to need to take this wing area down somewhat, that entire area, take it to a lower level so that we can begin to define where that side pocket feather group meets up with the edge of the wing down there. So I'm carving that deep enough so that I can get a little bit of a roundness in that feather group. And now I'm using the end of the burr like an end mill, and that works to get into tight spots. Now I'm digging in and defining the edge of the wing as it comes down and the edge of the speculum group that tucks into the side pocket feather group. And we've got to take that down quite a ways. So I'm blending that into that side pocket feather group. As a reminder, that's not the entire length of the side pocket. The rest of the side pocket is actually tucked behind this wing. And so I'm working to define the back edge of the full side pocket, which is back here. And the tail is cocked around to this side, so there's not much distance between the end of the side pocket and where the tail feathers come out of the body on this side. There'll be more room on the opposite side, but it's because of the way I drew the pattern and that side kick to the tail feathers. Now I'm using the end of the burr again to just kind of further define the tail coverts above and take wood out of that area after undercutting the primary wing feather group and blending that back in the way it needs to be. I'm going to speed it up for the rest of this portion of the video so things will go a little faster. Okay, we're at 2 times speed. Now I'm rounding that side pocket feather group and kind of blending that in. And now I need to define the back feathers and where they meet up with the wing, so the scapular feather group. So I'm using this burr and the end of it primarily to remove material, take that down, take the wing to a lower level, and that gives us some definition to the scapular feather groups above. So you can kind of see I'm creating an edge there. I'm angling that primary group down. Just continuing to work on that wing, and as it tucks up into this area, the wing itself kind of disappears in these feather groups. And now rounding the scapulars. I'm going to start working on the cape. I want to create a little bit of a V in the back and then define the cape a little bit as it ties into this area. So I'm leaving the cape high and taking the scapulars down a bit so that the cape looks like it's laying over the scapular feather groups and the feathers of the back. Again, working on defining that V in the middle to give it a little interest and shape. And now I'm starting to work on the side pocket on the opposite side. I don't have to remove a ton of material over here because the body is pretty well rounded and that side pocket is so high on the body that we don't need to dig a big trench there that's going to look awkward. So now I'm going to use this 3/4 inch burr to take wood off a little bit faster in some of these areas, and I'm working to find that the rear of that side pocket and round that after putting some definition to the top of the side pocket there. I know I'm showing a lot of detail in this video, but again, for someone who's just starting out, it may be helpful to be able to go back and watch segments of the video like this to remind yourself, okay, how did he do that particular area? And I want to show enough detail that it explains the process. There's no mystery on how I'm doing things. And this is just one approach to doing things. I'm not trying to convince everybody this is the only right way to do it. Many right ways to carve a decoy. This is just the way I've been doing it. Just continuing to round things, and it's starting to shape up here now. I'm going to hold on that for a second. Get my pencil out and redefine some of these lines. I do that quite often. I really like to repencil and then recheck some dimensions with calipers, and it just makes things more visible when you can see the pencil lines, and it helps me see my mistakes quicker. Okay, let's hold there. We'll stop grinding for a second and just take a quick look at the rough grind and looking for symmetry and proportion. I just kind of penciled in where the speculum is going to fall in there, and maybe a little bit of the primaries exposed here. I think I've got this a little bit high, so I'll probably grind that down. I'm just going to my pattern with the calipers, kind of cross-referencing and checking just rough dimensions to see if I'm in the ballpark, and then eyeballing it to see if things look right. Now I left wood in here because I wasn't sure where the tertials were going to fall. So I want to start penciling in the tertials, scapulars, and carve some of those in this particular decoy. Okay, it's been a hot day in Nebraska in the carving shop, so I think we'll call that a wrap on roughing out the body. We made good progress today, and in the next session we'll detail the body and get it ready for the head to be mounted, getting close to the finish line at that point. Until then, Tom Christie signing out. Good carving to all of you.